Okay, and we are live. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Crypto Hour. Today, probably got an announcement to make. This is probably the last time I am broadcasting from Genius U. If you do want to make sure that you carry on seeing this, I mean, Genius U was a really good way to have you all on a Zoom call, and at the same time not have to broadcast the address, the address of the Zoom call to everybody that can cause problems. We'll see if you would like to actually come back, carry on attending on Zoom, then message me and I will send you the new Zoom link that I'll use to do these calls. And I'll still need to figure out exactly what the settings are for broadcasting directly on the Modern Day Investor, but this is where it's going to be from now on. Okay, so these crypto hours are on the Modern Day Investor Facebook group. Okay, so I will. The first thing I will do, actually, I'll post the link. So and you that want to join, it's free to join the group. So you can whatever happens with the Zoom call, you can always go to the live Facebook Live on the group. Okay, let me share. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Okay.
Cute mouse.
Group. Okay. So copy, and I'll paste this link in the chat. Okay. So this is the Modern Day Investor group. If you're not a member of the group, then you just have to request, to join, and then it would be, you would be admitted to the group after a few hours. Okay, so
okay, is it just we'll just click on it from that group? We'll just click on the link that you have in your ad for like you have for every week that shows up there.
Yes, I probably
and here.
Sorry, this one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So, yeah, unfortunately, you see, what I can't do, because this is a public group, if I put the Zoom address here, then, it's happened before at the beginning when I was doing this. If I put the Zoom address and publish it here, you get a lot of people that just come to disrupt, and they've got no interest in watching the call. They're just messing about. Okay, so this is why I can't do that. So, the one thing I will say, if you want to come on the live, be on Zoom, then message me directly privately, and I will send you privately by either email or WhatsApp message or Discord.
Okay.
I will send you the Zoom link. I will not post it. I will not post it here because this is open. So what's going to happen is that you're going to see here then a Facebook Live broadcast. But obviously, the Facebook Live, you won't be able to interact with me on the Zoom call. So you can post, like you do with YouTube, you can post questions, but you won't be able to talk on be on Zoom at the same time as I am. Okay, so let's go as usual. Let's have a very quick look at the economic calendar. So as you can see, it was a fairly light week from the point of view of economic news. If you can see, look at the red events, and there's very, very few and far between the whole week. So we had, funny enough, probably one of the most important was just an interview with Jerome Powell. It was before the at 12 o'clock on Sunday night. So just to understand where they are standing, and again, they are fairly firmly on the fence So they're saying that anything can happen from now on. Not that we'll put interest rates up again, but from the point of view of when they start lowering them, they are just waiting to see more data to decide when they're going to do that. And we'll see that there's something today that's very important, which you won't find in these economic calendars. We'll talk about in a second. So on Tuesday we had the announcements of the Bank of Australia, Central Bank of Australia, that kept the interest rates at the same level, and they said that although inflation has been coming down in Australia, but it's not confident enough to start cutting rates. Okay, so going on, and some minor things like unemployment. The bigger announcement was yesterday, which was we had unemployment claims. And remember that the two things that we are really keeping an eye on are one, inflation, and two, job figures. Okay, so this is important from the point of view is, are things changing? So is something happening that could push the the Fed to make a decision, and the decision really are either to delay the interest rate cuts or to speed them up. So at the moment we are looking at, everybody's now gone back to as for the events of the last few weeks, where it was widely expected that these cuts were going to start happening in March. Now it's only about 30% chance of that happening, and most people expect them to happen in May. So with the good figures that we had last week, so that was after we had the call last week. Just let me go back. We had the non-farm payroll. Okay, because here non-farm employment change. As you can see, the numbers were really a lot higher, almost double than what was expected. So I'll show you what that means and how that can change things quickly in economic terms in the charts. Let me just show you. So this is the yield on the let me just change this. Sorry. The yield on the 20-year bond. Okay, and see what happened after the release of these things on Friday. We actually had a boom in terms of the yield that you can get on these bonds of about 0.3%, which is a lot. So it is a big move to happen in 2 days, really, Friday and Monday. Okay, and this is just because we have got good job figures and they show that the job market is still quite strong. There is no need to cut interest rate to stimulate the economy, because the economy seems to be doing okay as it is. Okay, so in a way, the result of this has been people are now expecting interest rate cuts, and I've gone back to thinking, well, if these rates are going to last for longer, then we are kind of probably these interest rates that we're receiving will last for longer than we expected. So we don't need to discount as much right now. And the figures yesterday confirmed this narrative pretty much, because the jobless figures were not as bad as we were expecting. So as you can see, come back to this week, these figures were not as bad as expected. And you can see here the actual was 218, again 227 last month, and an expectation of 221. So not a huge difference, okay, from what was expected, but still confirming in a positive way the narrative that we have started last week. So basically that shows continuous then if you are trading at all, or if you're trading currencies, that means continuous US dollar strength, and you can see here when we look at the dollar index, again, you can see here on Friday the big increase jump where the dollar had been in a kind of a holding pattern pretty much for over 2 weeks, and on that announcement actually jumped up quite significantly. we're talking about 1.5% roughly, which is a big move in currency terms, and has now terminated. The important thing to watch as well. This blue line represents the the line in the sand of the downtrend. That means the downtrend now has been broken. We haven't moved into an uptrend because this move is not strong enough to to be considered an uptrend, but it means that we now are the US dollar is not just pointing down, but we are moving into another area of uncertainty. Okay, so what's big today? The announcement is that the inflation figures, that there are, I would say, two types of calculations of inflation. One that is based on the raw numbers that we receive every year. So, the raw numbers will tell you, inflation is at this level in January, this level in February, and so on, and come to a certain number at the end of the year compared to the beginning of the year. So as prices gone up, come down, etc., etc. But what they do every year, and it happens exactly now, and it happened as well last year, there is a rebalancing of the numbers of inflation, because there are some seasonal figures that the statisticians use to smooth these figures out. Okay, so last year, for example, there was a smoothing up of the figures that we saw at the end of 2022. So basically, what everybody was expecting was seeing the inflation figures come down very fast and very quickly. Those figures were then adjusted up, and the figures at the beginning of the year were adjusted down. So this is a zero-sum game. At the end of the day, the figures at the end of the year will still be the same. So there is no change really in inflation. It's just the way that we look at inflation to predict what is going to happen in the near future. Okay, so last year, for example, that revision was quite strong, and it did create a very strong shift in the expectations for interest rates. And the same thing could happen this year. But if we go back to this is the yield of, again, on the 20-year bond. As we can see, this adjustment up has already pretty much happened, and we know that we might not see an interest rate cut in March, and maybe even not in May, but definitely they are coming. And we already been told that we reached at the top of the cycle in terms of raising interest rates, so the interest rates were not going to go any higher. So is there any surprise to be expected on the way up? Well, anything can happen as usual, and yes, if those revisions came out making the figures of the last few months worse, then obviously there might still be a push up in terms of expectation for interest rates, but the upside is very limited, because most of this has played out already, as you can see, as interest rates went back up from 4.1 to basically almost like 4.5%. So the up surprise element is limited, but the down surprise element is quite open. So is those revisions where, for example, came up to show a similar, say, a CPI figures that come closer to the PCE, so to the PCE figures, they already are at pointing at below 2%. That could be kind of like a reason for the Fed to then consider lower interest rates sooner rather than later. So this is what the markets react to more than anything else, because so if you look at the longer term denomination of US bonds, is where most of the US dollars reside. Okay, so they're not, if you think about all the trillion and trillion of debt they are out there in the world of US dollars, they're not in cash. Okay, they are in, obviously, instruments that pay a certain return. Okay, and the ones that are more difficult for the to be influenced are the ones that have the largest volume of emission, and those are the longer term bonds. Okay, so we're looking at up to the 5-10 years. Yes, the Fed can still influence the price, but when we go into 20 years and above, the market is too strong, even for the United States of America, to strongly influence the price of these bonds. Okay, so everything is priced in here. Okay, so we don't know exactly what time these figures will come out today, but normally, if you look at so this is the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. They will release the data, and if you look at the news releases, generally speaking, they're always at 8:30 a.m. Okay, there is nothing here. So if you can see here, there's no release planned for today in terms of because it's not new data. It's just a readjusting of old data. Okay, so that's the thing. Sometimes you might look at some of the prices today and you think, oh my God, what just happened now? And this is what just happened, even if you can't find it anywhere. Now, let's go and talk about. Oh, by the way, today being maybe the last session that we're having on here. Please let me know if there is something specific that you would like to talk about, and I'll be happy to cover it. Okay, now let's go to Bitcoin. Obviously, this is our favorite topic. Talking about crypto here, talking about Bitcoin. So we are happy again now. Okay, so we are going back. This is significant. So see, we're moving every week. We're moving closer to this red line, this Bitcoin halving event. We've gone back above average line, and importantly, we have moved above this point here. Okay, which is the highest that Bitcoin price had reached before the ETF launch date. Okay, which was on this one here, which was the 11th of January. All right, so that means that we are back into kind of like the growth that we had seen since the end of 2022. So we are back following this kind of like narrative. The price of Bitcoin is gently pushing up, and now we are fighting against the dizzy heights that were reached at the opening of trading for the Bitcoin spot ETFs. Okay, so we'll see. The highest close was at almost like 47,000, and we're not that far from it today. We're already at 46.5, so we could test that, and maybe closing above this point, above this 47,000 mark, will open the way to a move up to 50,000 and above. Okay, so as you can see, that's what I was expecting before the launch of the ETF. Well, it's taken a bit longer than expected, about a month longer, but we are getting there in the end. And this is the thing. The reason why these things are moving so quickly is one of the things that we might the people that come to my kind of like trading mentorship will have hopefully taken advantage of, because it's something I highlighted to everybody. So if you look at a smaller term chart, we see that before, and we move here before this happened, we were looking at kind of a Bitcoin was waiting to pop. Okay, so we had price again, you can see making lower highs on one side, and we have price making higher lows on the other side. Okay, so what we did, and if you put these, we played a breakaway strategy. Okay, so what we said is this. Okay, so these are the lines in the sand, and what we know is that a lot of people will the bears, people that thought that price will go into the 30,000 and so on, would have they stopped above this level. Okay, so roughly it was around 43,600. Okay, so would be, and it depends. Some people may have had it here, some people may have had it here, some people may have had it here. Okay, but definitely there were some stop losses above this level because people trade Bitcoin in a leveraged way. So it's not so much the price goes beyond the level, but they are maybe exposed 3, 4, 5, 10 times, 50 times the amount of the change in price. So that can very quickly mount up. Okay, so there will be some stop losses for the bears above this level, and there will be some stop losses for the bulls beyond this level. Okay, so we put this at basically 14,200 for the low and 43,600 for the for the high. And so not knowing where price would go from here at this point, so this is kind of like Tuesday, Wednesday, we said, okay, if price breaks above 43,600, we are buying Bitcoin. If price goes below 42,200, we are selling Bitcoin. Okay, and the expectation is, okay, you are 43,600, and if you calculate the difference between the two red lines is 1,400. So our target will be 1,400 higher than 43,600. So that happened almost like by the book. Let's see, price broke that level, we got in, and very quickly, we got to 45,000 here. So this happened on Wednesday evening, and on Thursday afternoon, the trade had played itself out. Obviously, it's gone a lot higher now, but I'm just thinking this is how you plan. You plan with certain goals. When price approaches these goals, you can either, take your profit because you reach your goal, or you can follow putting your trading stops below recent lows. And if you are playing with the trading stops, you will still be in the trade today, and your stop would be now at 45,800. Okay. So if any of you is interested to join me in this, then again, send me a message. And if you want, I have live sessions every Monday and Wednesday in the morning in the UK. So that would be kind of like a beginning of the London session in the UK, and it would be evening in Australia. And we do have some occasional sessions as well during the New York trading hours, okay, and some specialized crypto sessions as well. So just to remind you, you can either find me at Discord, or you can the easiest thing is to send me an email at luca@yhoh.co.uk. There we are. If you want to join me, and I'll put it in the chat as well. Okay, so what I was saying is that as we broke through this level, the 43,600 and above, you can see, and this is, again, we're going into a 15-minute chart, so we can see how things are speeding up. The most aggressive traders would even put their stops even below, above this sideways move, okay? But you can see how here up past 43,006, how quickly it moved up to over the 44,000, because these are liquidation basically, okay? So when traders they were short actually close their account, either close their trade or are liquidated by the exchange, in the market, it means that there is an extra buy order, because these were sell orders that they were keeping. And now the sell order have become buy order because they're closing their position. So this is why this accelerates, okay? And And here we carry on now. We're moving on to go back to the daily. Let me just, sorry, move my address out of the way. So moving back onto the daily, we are back into this area where we might find some sellers, okay, which is again the December 2021 to end of January. Okay, so that big move there, but it's so we likely to spend a little bit of time in this range between really 46 and 52, but then as soon as we break this, we'll be in the all-time high range. So this is the next. We have actually climbed all these obstacles, and we are now getting onto. Sorry, this is getting. I've got too many lines in here. Let me just close some of these. So, and we are getting onto the last defense, I would say, of the bears, okay, because it's where really is the kind of the all-time high, which is the origin of the huge price drop, you know, over 80% price drop that we had from the all-time highs. Okay, so once we break this 52,000, again, it won't take, it will be, we might be in this area for a week or two, but very quickly, once we break it, it will take 2 or 3 days to go back from 52 to 60. Okay, it will happen very, 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 very quickly indeed. So, and why is this happening now? And again, we've been talking about this, you know, the Bitcoin spot ETF. Okay, and this is again, I remind you, this is the day when it launched. So this is the day where it launched. Okay. And that's the high that was reaching in the kind of like a noise that was straight after the start of trading. But this is why this is such a big deal. And although I'll say the price, you know, everybody was panicking. I think, well, the ETF has been launched and price is coming down. Now that, you know, the numbers are settling down, this is what we're looking at, and it is as big as you can imagine. Okay, so these are the latest figures. As you can see, it is a kind of sometimes a little bit confusing because these figures are reported in dollars. Okay, so we had all this sell-off of grayscale shares, and we still got a value that doesn't seem to go down. It's simply because Bitcoin has gone up. So the value of the remaining, the remaining shares is higher. But it would be actually more helpful to see these figures in terms of flows of Bitcoins rather than flows of US dollars. Okay, and that will give you a better idea of what the balance of power is. But at the end of the day, so we've had an inflow, from the beginning of the ETFs now of almost like $2 billion. Okay, and once so the total inflow except GBTC was over $8 billion. Now you deduct the outflows from GBTC, which are 6.2, and you're left with $1.8 billion. Okay, and the assets as well. You can say the assets, while the Grayscale trust keep seeing outflows pretty much every day, which has slowed down from the 250, 300 million to about 80 to 100 million range. The flows into all the other ETFs keep being positive. Okay, so we have now basically two funds, because I think the Fidelity today, after these figures, will go beyond the $3 billion in value. So we have BlackRock and Fidelity, which are over 3 billion, and we are the ARK Invest and Bitwise that are marching towards the 1 billion figure. I mean, these are huge figures when you put them into perspective. Now, and yeah, I've got a good graph to show you. Okay, let me make this a bit bigger. Okay, so this is a list of the top 25 ETFs by assets after 1 month on the market. This is for all over 5,000 launches in the last 30 years. Okay, Now, after 1 month, these are the top two, are the BlackRock and the Fidelity Bitcoin Spot ETFs. And if you look at the whole list, even the ARK-B and the BIT-B, these are the other two ETFs that follow the top two. So the top four spot Bitcoin ETFs are in the top 25 ETFs by assets after 1 month of all time. And look at these two, just each one of these two dwarfs even the launch of the gold and silver ETFs. So just I don't know if you can, kind of like work your mind through these numbers, but it is mind-blowing. These are the most successful ETF launch bar none. Okay, and this is what the effect of it in price has only been mitigated by the conversion of Grayscale Trust to an ETF, which has caused a lot of rebalancing, so sell of Grayscale shares and a purchase of these other funds. Okay, these are kind of like, honestly, they are mind-blowing figures, and never seen before in the kind of in the ETF scenario. So this another thing I wanted to show you. So these are the Bitcoin holdings when you can see the kind of the biggest holder of the Bitcoin. You can see biggest holder is still GBTC, which has just below 500,000 Bitcoin. MicroStrategy is the second, that will very quickly be replaced by the other 9 Bitcoin ETFs that will pretty much overtake that. And then we have Tether, and we have some the publicly traded miners, and Tesla and Blockink as well. They have got shares. They have got Bitcoin in the possession. But you can see, GBTC will at the moment is getting lower, and especially this green histogram is getting higher. So as we said at the beginning, at current rates, it might take about 1.5 months for these 9 to overtake GBTC. So we will see. We'll see at the moment how long are we gone. So this was the 11th of January. Okay, so at the 11th of February, so on Sunday will be exactly a month. So today is the last trading day of the first month. Okay, so we will see if by the end of February we are close to rebalancing this level of by assets. At the moment we're still about 1 to 3.5 in terms of relationship, but this is changing every day. It's getting more and more. Last week it was 1 to 4. Now it's we're climbing up. And if you see the volume as well, now this is significant. The volume in the BlackRock ETF is already higher than the Grayscale Trust. Okay, and we have now positive influxes now. But before last couple of weeks, we had some positive days, some negative days. Now most of the days are positive. So this is new money coming into Bitcoin, okay, and Bitcoins being bought, wherever they are available and being taken out of the market, guys. So just think about it in those terms. It's not that there are going to be less Bitcoins available to trade because they are stored into these ETFs. Okay, as simple as that. Okay, so now there are several other things to think about, but just remember what we are seeing here. This kind of, obviously we're not going to have every day like we've had in the past 2 or 3 days, because that is due to almost like things being congested and then popping out. So this is the effect of that. It's not like every day now is going to be like I would say a 1-2% day. I wish it was. At the moment Bitcoin is on 2.5% up compared to the previous day. So it's not going to happen every day, but my prediction as well is that, as I said, probably we spend, maybe 1 week or two in this area, and then by the end of February, I think we'll be attacking this higher range. Okay, so I'm thinking that now we are probably, compared to the past, we have already probably started the bull run, and there is a seasonal event here, so be careful as well, because it's the Chinese New Year, and in the past we've had again, Bitcoin has popped about between 10 and 20% between the Chinese New Year and kind of like after the festivities end, in about a week, 10 days after the Chinese New Year. Okay, so we could see a pop and then a settle back in this area, but I think we spend some time in this blue area before moving away. Now, the one thing I just wanted to, in a way, if you already have cryptocurrencies, it's not just all about, do I buy more with my cash or not? But I will encourage you, this is free software, TradingView. If you know something about trading, it's free. And what I'll encourage you is to start studying a little bit and analyzing is the relationship between cryptocurrencies. So, because as Bitcoin will go up from now, so will other cryptocurrencies. So for example, what's the relationship between Ethereum and Bitcoin? Because if you're already in cryptocurrencies, you probably have both Ethereum and Bitcoin. So at the moment, what's best to have? Easy. So if you have both in your portfolio, should you sell Ethereum to buy Bitcoin? Should you sell Bitcoin to buy Ethereum? And so I'm not just saying do one thing or another, but start seeing these opportunities, because often these relationship combined to a little bit of technical analysis can give you just really good tips to temporarily switch your assets from one coin to another, and then convert back to the first coin, and you end up with 15-20% more of the original coin that you had. So this is not just between Ethereum and Bitcoin, but we have done it in the past. For example, we Cardano on Ethereum. Again, you see what a big difference there is in relative terms. We're going from here in June, we were at 127, and at the moment is 220 with a high of 300. So if you actually manage to swap, let's say, your Ethereum for Cardano in June, and now you swapped your Cardano for Ethereum, you would have twice the Ethereum in your portfolio. You see how powerful that can be. Okay, so these are all kind of things that we'll be looking at in a private mentorship. But even if you do it on your own account, and start seeing the relationship between all your holdings, whatever cryptocurrencies you hold, because there might be opportunity to just temporarily switch between one and another, and switching doesn't cost very much if you have a crypto exchange like Binance or Coinbase or something like that. So the cost of the transaction is minimal compared to what you can gain. And for example, just having a look at here, Cardano seems to be now on a really good, at this price, at about 20. It seems like to be a really good buy in terms of Ethereum. So an easy trade could be swap your Ethereum for Cardano at about 200, and do the opposite once we reach 300, which is going to happen quite fairly easily, and you could get like 50% increase in your Ethereum, in the value of your Ethereum. And this is the kind of thing that I look at when you look at the big picture. The relative price of Cardano compared to Ethereum is close to an all-time low. Okay, so it's levels that were last. You see, levels that we're not seeing for a long time. And this is Coinbase. Oh, actually, let me just go and have a look at Binance. Binance has got longer time frame. Okay, so these are basically these levels. We didn't see these levels basically from the beginning of Cardano, and low that we touched. Even we are now pretty much at values that we were last seen before before June of last year. We're seeing in January 2021. Okay, so this is what happened in the last bull cycle. In terms, this is relative performance of Cardano compared to Ethereum. They went up basically 4 times. Okay, so Cardano became, in terms of Ethereum, 4 times as valuable. Could we see the same things now? Obviously, I don't have a crystal ball. We will see, but knowing the activity in Cardano's blockchain and the incredible amount of reliability of the blockchain, I wouldn't be surprised if that was to happen again, even just without having to aim for the top. We just aim for the average. Let's hear at this level, prices have been very comfortable for a long time. Okay, let's forget about what's below and what's above, but at this level, about 35, which is good 50% away from where we are now and plus. We've been a long time doing the life of Cardano and Ethereum. So this is about 60%. Okay. So these kind of things, adjustments, little adjustments could mean, an extra without, and it doesn't really matter what other Cardano or Ethereum do in terms of price. This is just their relative performance. So if you have both tokens, or again, it could be Solana against Bitcoin and so on. If you have both tokens in your portfolio and you intend to keep them for an extended period of time and not just sell them, in 1 or 2 months, these little adjustments can make a big difference to your portfolio. It could make a difference between, your portfolio increasing maybe 50, 60, 70, 100% in the next bull run, or becoming 5, 6, 700, 1000%. Okay, so moving on from here, just a couple of things, and then we'll take some questions. I don't really want to go too much into reading too many news. But there's one thing here. This is new regulation that were launched and take effect actually from February the 6th. They redefining the terms dealer and government securities dealer. So again, saying that anybody that deals with assets the bank that can be considered securities need to register with them first. Okay, now this is pretty much very unpractical because there are so many considered dealers that are in the DeFi space where there is no, it's decentralized, so there is no person behind it. But at the same time, there is no definition of what a security is. And again, so you don't know if these tokens are to be considered as securities or not. And so this is very likely going to be challenged in the courts, and we'll see what the results will be from there. Okay, so this is what we were just talking about before. Okay, BlackRock and Fidelity Bitcoin ETF see the largest debut amount of any ETF in 30 years. Another thing that just shows you, again, how things are becoming easier and getting ready for mass adoption. Now, MetaMask is partnered with Robinhood to be able so that people can get direct crypto access. So they can fund they can buy and transfer crypto MetaMask with Robinhood Connect. Okay, so these are all little things that make accessing crypto easier. And taking in isolation, none of these things will make a big difference. But put them all together, and you'll see a big difference. And this is another one, Kraken. Most of you will know Kraken and maybe have a Kraken account. So they now have got approval as the what you call virtual asset service provider by the Dutch central bank. So that will mean that we'll be able to expand in Europe as well. Again, make it easier with people, for people to access a vast number of currencies, not as many as Binance, but still a large number of cryptocurrencies are on Kraken. But the last thing I wanted to share with you, if I can find where I put it. Maybe I didn't say. Oh yeah. Here, the top crypto scams to avoid in 2024, and this is something that's worked well in the past. The one thing, and I keep repeating it to everyone, you might get a text on your phone that looks like it's coming from Binance, is looking from whatever crypto exchange you are part of. It looks genuine, and will have a link saying that you need to do something about your security, etc., etc. Never, ever, ever click on a link. So that you're not, that connects you to one of your services, because then you put your login details, and those login details are recorded by a malicious actor that can then use them to access your account. Okay, so even if you think it's genuine, what you do, let's say it's a text from Binance. What you do, you go to your computer, go to Binance, and you open it as normal, type in the address in binance.com. Okay, and then you access your service like that. Or if you're doing it from the phone, you're doing from the phone, but do not just click on a link. Okay, or if it's an email, same thing. So this is one. Then the second one, obviously, hopefully it's not going to happen to you, but it's a romance scam. So this happens very often on dating apps, on social media, etc., when scammers just establish a relationship with you, and it's quite involved, and then they start asking you for money, which invariably is in cryptocurrency. Another thing, QR codes. Okay, so again, it's a QR code where you actually copy it from your phone, and that takes you to a fraudulent website, which could be, for example, a payment platform to buy something, or something similar, or somewhere where you need to put your security details. Okay, and this often is connected to deepfake technology to impersonate somebody like Elon Musk or Michael Saylor or so on. So we'll have something that looks genuine, that's almost like them talking, and then there will be a QR code next to it. So don't do it. And the other thing, that it's fake trading bots. There are so many things online now that say that you can join this fantastic technology that can make you 3, 4, 5% a day, and you just have to join this trading bot and deposit whatever, $500 or something like this. Now it would be good if we found some that actually was working and delivered those returns, and they could prove their returns, but unfortunately they don't. Okay, because they are not real, and the way they pay these high returns is because with the new money that comes in, the basic is a Ponzi scheme, and new money that comes in pays the old investors, and then up to the point where the money coming in, it becomes less than the money going out, and then they run away with whatever they accumulated. And another one as well, Discord. Okay, this is especially for the Discord groups that are around non-fungible tokens. So again, and they are quite clever. So the way they do it is they focus on these NFT minting events, where they put a lot of urgency and wanting to jump in before, kind of like it's FOMO at the end of the day. So wanting for people to get in before they all go. Okay, and then they introduced with these malicious links, and you send your cryptocurrency thinking that you are minting an NFT, and instead you lose all your money. Okay, so this is what happened, for example, when they had the Bored Ape Yacht Club creators, which is the Yuga Labs Discord server in 2022. So, okay, so the attackers used it to post promotional material that led to a phishing site. Okay, so they scamming users by asking them to send Ethereum for a minting fee. So what happened is then not just that they didn't get the the NFT minted, but they had NFT stolen from their wallet. So and that's, by the way, if you do play in NFTs, okay, have two accounts. Remember, two accounts, not one. One where you store your NFTs, and the other one is the one where you go and participate in these things. So in case, because it's sometimes, even with the best intentions, you might end up being scammed. But the worst thing is that you have a very valuable, NFT, like the Bored Ape Yacht Club collection, for example, and you get it stolen from you, and some of these items are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Okay, so it can be a really big traumatic event. Okay, so remember, two accounts: one to buy the NFTs and one to store them. If you do take part in these things. If you don't, then you don't have to worry about this. Okay, let me stop sharing and let's see if there are any questions in the chat box. Okay, what about airdrop NFTs that arrive in your Ledger account, etc., etc.? Yeah, so unless you are participating in one of these projects, just avoid them. Unfortunately, it's kind of like a daily scourge of wallet owners to see all these NFTs and tokens, free tokens that are being received. The one thing you can do in many wallets, you can hide them, but you can't get rid of them. So do not interact with them whatsoever. Okay, simply either hide them or ignore them. But don't be tempted to do anything. Don't be tempted to do anything with it, because again, and I'm not. Maybe Jonathan would be able to shed a better light on how they use them to scam you. But the one thing I know is that if you don't interact with them, then they can't do anything. Jonathan, do you have something to add from a technical point of view, how these tokens are used to scam you?
There's several different techniques that they use, but the crux of it is that most of the NFT space is based around Ethereum's model, where NFTs are smart contracts. So they're actually bits of programmable code. And once you've got code in place, then it can be altered, changed, fed parameters to make strange things happen. And so that's what you're vulnerable to. Of course, I don't get to speak without having to plug Cardano's approach, which is always a bit different. So instead of having their NFTs as smart contracts, they actually have them just as native assets. So they sit at the protocol level, recognized as being NFT, non-fungible tokens, as opposed to fungible just by the data around them. So there's no programmable code within themselves. However, saying that, there is a lot of Cardano scams with NFTs going on as well, or tokens going on as well. So they'll send these tokens to your wallet, and on those NFT images for that token, they'll have a link to a website. If you do go to that website, it'll look like the authentic website. So they might get sent one for one of the decentralized exchanges, and it'll just look like the website as you know it. But then when you go to actually collect your airdrop or trade it for a larger set of NFTs or something, then you can have what's called a wallet drain attack. So it will form a transaction that looks like you're just signing to do a simple exchange or something, but actually, unless you actually examine the transaction, it's got all the assets from your wallet included in that transaction. So it will drain and empty your wallet. So that happens, has happened to a few people that in the Cardano space. But again, Cardano's approach is a little different in that you can actually get rid of those NFTs without risking your funds. So because the exchanges have an older infrastructure, you can send those tokens to the exchange, and they will effectively be burnt in the exchange because the infrastructure isn't up to date enough to actually cope with them. And also on Cardano, when somebody sends you those tokens, they've had to actually send ADA with it as well. So you end up richer off the back of it rather than poorer, which is quite good. So if you want ideas around those sorts of techniques, then come to my call, because we went into it in depth a couple of weeks ago, and I can send you the recording if you are getting these tokens. So yeah.
Fantastic. So the solution for that, remember, is not just join, and Jonathan, please post the link again. But it's not only that, but then join Jonathan's Discord group where a lot of these recordings are stored. So you can go and and look at the old recordings where you can get all of that. Fantastic. The one thing I wanted to leave you with, by the way, yes, going to employment job numbers, they're saying Ray, appears to be a lot of talk of further coming layoffs in the finance and tech sector. I mean, if you look at the US, numbers are telling us, and this is already being discussed, in Congress as well, and the regional banks are creaking at the seams because the corporate property sector is really suffering. Because there have been, since the pandemic, and there's still offices with nowhere near with full occupancy. So obviously the regional banks are the institutions that funded these property deals, and now these numbers are kind of affecting the bottom line. Okay, so there will be some another regional bank issue that would be start a little cascade. I'm not saying that the banking sector will collapse all of a sudden, but there will be some fallback on this, because it's all like a it can be a virtuous cycle in a way to generate this. I mean, obviously we're in crypto, so we don't consider that, but the cycle can turn away in the other direction. And when one thing starts going bad, then it snowballs and more bad things start to happen. So I see that there's a lot of just remember that there was statisticians can do a lot to make things look one way or another. And especially with job numbers, there are lots of criticism of the job numbers at the moment that look so positive when they don't differentiate, for example, between full-time job and part-time job. And there are, for example, there were lots and lots of jobs created at the end of the year. A lot of those jobs being created were part-time jobs. So the situation is probably bleaker than the numbers tell us. And for me, yes, a layoff will be coming, but because this is the economic cycle, and there are technical reasons why we haven't seen the effects, because the although we're still in I'm going to say quantitative tightening, there is liquidity that keeps being injected into the sector, and there's still quite a few $100 billion of let's say in reserve by the Fed to to be used to delay this until the second part of the year, when it will have less of an impact on elections. So I have a message from John Paul. I'm not quite sure what you're referring to in Discord group. Ethereum fraud. What's this about? If you tell me a little bit more about it, I'm not quite sure what you mean.
Hi, that's us. Just looking on the IW, Discord group, and you go down all the different things, and there's an Ethereum one, there's a Bitcoin, and on the Ethereum one, on the 3rd of February, Lance, go up. Lance one is posted. All seeing more and more reports of ETH fraud. This has been mentioned in tweets for a while, and it looks like it's getting more traction. If you have any ETH positions, look to divest. If this is true, the crypto market will make a massive hit. And then he's got a link
Yeah,
to
I mean, this is talking about, Ethereum. We discussed this a long time ago.
okay.
Yeah, no, Ethereum is vulnerable in terms of the actual programming language itself is vulnerable. Okay, and we so as we're moving forward to this becoming blockchain, becoming a technology can be used by, to run whole countries, to run financial systems on it. You can't have something like Ethereum that loses pretty much 10% of its value every year to scams. Okay, so and there are lots of scams going around in Ethereum. You see, if you look at all the DeFi hacks and everything, 90% of them are on Ethereum. It is where most of the assets reside as well. So obviously, it's where fly paper to the scammers. But this is nothing new. So it's gone on for years, and especially now that crypto becoming more interesting. And people that maybe haven't been in crypto before starts being attracted to the space, you'll see more scams going around because can attract people that are not familiar with the precautions that you should have to engage with crypto. Okay, so this is what we're talking about. I don't think it would make kind of like a huge difference to the price of Ethereum because again, it's nothing new. But if you're looking at something kind of which technology should I support? I mean, for me, and I've been doing it's not new what I'm saying here, but I am more positive on the outlook for Cardano than I am on the one for Ethereum.
Gotcha.
But then, who's
Like,
to
we have
say
a bit
that we're not looking at a VHS and Betamax event, Betamax being the best product and VHS is the standard that was adopted by everybody. So we'll see. We'll see in the next few years. We'll tell. But the one thing I would like you to remember, just like zooming out and thinking, why are we all here in the space? Why are we all interested in kind of Bitcoin and the other cryptos? It's because really it goes to a fundamental level. There is the meaning of money. Okay, we are so much has been inculcated in us, and we've been so kind of like brainwashed. Nobody knows anymore what money is. But money, at the end of the day, is simply a language the humans created to express value to each other. And as such, is not owned by anybody. Is not controlled by anybody. And I think we are at an inflection point right now. And just so basically what money was needed for is the thing that allowed us to exceed that maximum level of interaction that can happen in, for example, in a village. And it's called, the Dunbar number, okay, which is the maximum number of people that can interact with each other, that can maintain a functioning society, without using anything else like money. But money is needed the moment that, sorry, let me just stop this alert. Okay. Money is needed the moment that you start interacting with other villages and you start trading with other countries. Okay, so you need to express to each other what things are worth. Okay, and then the consensus decides the value of things, because you might exchange something with somebody that doesn't value what you have to give, but they know that thing that you are giving them can be exchanged for something else down the line, for something that they want. And this is the importance of money itself. Now, obviously, what was invented with Bitcoin in 2009 was the concept of money that has been then hijacked by people with a crown, kings and queens, and more recently by governments and central banks. An invention of money as pure information on an open network that is uncensorable, open to anyone, neutral and global. So this is the power of Bitcoin. It cannot be stopped. If for some reason they were to stop the Bitcoin network, any 14-year-old could start another one tomorrow. And so on. So we got to the point where that cannot be stopped anymore. And probably the children that are born today will not know a world where banks control money anymore. They will grow up with money simply being content of that is processed online. So you'll see a Bitcoin transaction doesn't even need the Bitcoin network to be carried on. It simply could be encoded. You could see it could be encoded in a picture that you see on Facebook, at the back of an image. It could be in an advert that you see on on a newspaper. So there are so many ways that can happen without needing to trust anybody else. And this is a fundamental change that goes to the core of human existence. And in a way that it's a peer-to-peer network that cannot be influenced, cannot be stopped, cannot be destroyed, because there are no servers that exist where this resides, that everybody owns a copy on their computer. And as nobody benefits from it, it's neutral, it's global, and it is the par excellence, the way that value can be exchanged without fuss and without trouble, without borders. Okay, this is borderless. So this is the most important change that will happen, I think, in our society, in our generation. And it is so huge that it will change everything that we do. And then it could change our life forever. In the same way, that if you remember that people talking about cryptocurrency as, something that is connected to crime, and it's used by drug dealers, by pornographers,
money laundering and stuff like that.
Yeah, you remember all these things? You know what these things were used for? When these kind of arguments were used in 1992, 1993, when Bitcoin didn't even exist, but people were talking about the internet. Exactly the same arguments were used then. Now, could you tell a 10-year-old that there was once a world without internet? They wouldn't understand you. They wouldn't understand what you're talking about. That's part of their normality, their existence. In the same way, in 10 years' time, children will ask you, really? When you wanted to buy something or sell something, you were to go and knock on the doors of the bank? Really? So this is so far from the reality of what, and the easy way of doing things, that you can't even comprehend. There are now almost, we are getting close to 10 billion people in this earth. Just about one of these billion people has access to banking system. And the difference is that cryptocurrency brings a way for everybody to have access to it with a $20 smartphone. So there are whole countries, they have no access at all to banking system. Even if they do, the banking system is part of a criminal organization. Let's be honest with that. Now, you basically are opening up the potential to economic freedom and self-reliance to anybody on this planet that can buy a cell phone. I can have a signal. It's so huge that you can't even comprehend how our life will change in the next few years, with the point that not just, there's a lot of talk about AI, but what about, and talk about charities, for example, what about a system that is self-governing, that generate funds and immediately distributes them to the charity that are where these funds are going to be used? And this could happen automatically. What about disseminating stories? For example, good quality stories they are generated by AI, and with the funds that are generating through people that read these stories, attention that we give them, then they can buy more airtime for their stories. So these are all things that are going to happen, you know. And the other way, what we are fighting against is obviously the big business, you know, the big conglomerates, the ones that the Google, the Amazons of this world. That what is their business model? They will like to have a patent, something that is restricted, that is gated, that you have access, that only they can give you access to. Okay, but it is a system that will fail eventually, and they will try to gate it and make sure that, you know, they keep control of it. So they love the idea of the blockchain, but they want a blockchain where there is still one person behind it that can say yes or no, that can shut it down, or they can stop access when they want to. Okay, so I really think we are beginning of the end of the current financial system, and I don't think it will be that long before we start seeing now, first of all, cryptocurrencies and blockchain integrating with the current system and then taking it over completely. So, and I can see that within my lifetime, the central banks will not exist anymore, and the government obviously will still exist, but will not be in control of the exchange of value anymore. So I just wanted to congratulate you all to being kind of early joiners in this revolution, because, you know, the pioneers obviously are the ones that can take the right decisions because they have taken time to educate themselves. Okay, so welcome everybody, well done. And remember, for next week, remember to go onto the Modern Day Investor group. So if you're not a member of that group already, just ask to join. It's free. And I'm not quite sure what and if you want to be part of this, again, send me a message by email. And again, look up at yhorh.co.uk. Yeah, and I will send you the Zoom link so you can be on the Zoom call if you want to. Okay, all right. I will wish you all a fantastic weekend, and I'll catch up with you next Friday. Okay, bye everyone.
Thanks, Luca.
Goodbye.
Cheers. Bye.